Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Joined there, my co-host, Joseph.
Yellow.
And Jehu. Doing a movie review. We haven't done one of these in a while, I feel like. It's been a few weeks.
Sure. It's been a while.
Still not a movie we watched in movie theaters.
Also still one we're substantially not qualified to discuss.
I guess we did do Wonder Woman 84 like 2 weeks ago, so my original statement was bullshit. Yeah, Joseph, you're right. We'll probably be, I don't think we'll be, I hope we're not as offensive as we were with Wonder Woman, but we have the potential to be.
I mean, there's definitely potential here. I just mean for a movie which is largely just a discourse about how black men of influence should use their influence to elevate the black community. I don't feel like we've got a lot of insight on that personally.
Personally, where I'm coming from on this is I doubt I'll be as offensive because this movie isn't the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. But, you know, it sort of sits in an area where it's pretty good. And it's hard to say a lot about pretty good movies.
We should talk about what the actual movie is. We watched One Night in Miami.
Yes, the story of One Night in Miami between Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and Malcolm X.
And Jim Brown. You said Cassius Clay. And
I said Muhammad Ali and Cassius Clay. Jim Brown, you're right.
They're both in there. There's time travel in this movie.
See, this is a good question I wanted to ask that I forgot. It feels weird calling him Cassius Clay because for me, he doesn't want to be called
naming him, right?
Yes,
100%.
But the character in the movie at that period
has not. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think dead naming would be the right term for this because, I mean, it's literally the story of his name changing as part of this.
Right.
So it's hard. You can't not acknowledge that.
Yeah, it just feels weird because we are not in the movie or at that time. We are talking post that event. So I just, and he's dead and not listening to this podcast. So it's not like I'm really going to disrespect Muhammad Ali himself, but I want to respect his legacy. What do we think of this movie, guys?
So I should preface with, besides, being a story of four or a inspired by true events, fictionalized conversation of four prominent black men. I guess today, what year is this supposed to be? It's roughly around the civil rights movement.
I think
it's 64.
Yeah, okay. I think it's 64. It's after Kennedy's dead.
Yeah, good point. But it's based on a play by Kemp Powers, who also wrote the script for the movie Soul. And it makes so much sense that it's a play because it mostly takes place in one room. But this is also the directorial debut of Regina King.
Yes.
Who we love from Watchmen, but is also in other things.
Joseph, do you happen to have the cast in front of you? Because, I know Leslie Odom Jr. and Aldous Hodge are in this movie. I don't remember the other two guy names.
Aldous Hodge, Leslie Odom Jr., Ellie Gorey, I'm not sure if that's correct, is Cassius Clay. And then Kingsley Ben-Adir is Malcolm X. And then Lance Reddick is in it for some reason.
He really isn't given a lot to do.
He's not.
Reddick.
For someone with such a distinct look and just general recognizability, not necessarily as Lance Reddick, but people are like, hey, I know that guy. He's probably going to do something. He doesn't really do a lot.
No, he doesn't.
See, I 100% thought this role was born for Lance Reddick in that it's exactly like it is that slightly intimidating black guy role, which is his entire career.
Sure. You're not wrong.
Like he pushes John Locke downstairs. I could believe that guy would push John Locke downstairs.
He looks like he put on some muscle mass for this role. I wonder if he thought it was going to be a bigger part.
He actually thought he was going to play Jim Brown in it. And then
Oh, how disappointing. As far as like initial impressions of this movie, I could very much tell it was a play. I got really nervous in the first 20 minutes, which I think were the bits. So the play is 90 minutes. This movie was 2 hours. I suspect the first bit, all the opening bits with each of the characters is the added bit. I was really worried based on those 20 minutes that we had made a really poor choice.
Right.
The combination of writing and tropiness and just not great acting overall made me like, oh, this is going to be a bad time. But then once we got to the actual, the one night in Miami bit, I had a pretty good time with it. It's I think the acting gets a lot better, the writing is a lot better, and it's just it's an interesting discussion between four interesting people that they probably didn't actually have, but it's like nice to imagine they did.
I was worried going into this that it was going to fill it into one of my least favorite categories of movies, which are movies that are not good but get a pass because they're about something important.
Right? Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Selma. I'm looking at you, Passion of the Christ. Movies that people just want to like because of what they're about, but they're not actually good movies. I was very happy this wasn't that. This movie wasn't, great. Like there are things as we talk about it further that I'll tell my problem. But for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I actually think it's a bummer that there was adult content in this movie, because I think it would be a great thing to show to, like an early teen who doesn't know anything about these four dudes, to say, here's why these dudes were important.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they say pussy a lot.
Yeah.
I feel very similar to you guys. I do think the beginning is a little shaky. It takes a long time to get to a title card in this movie, and any time it takes more than 2 minutes for me to get to a title card, I'm in a bad mood.
Unless the title card is at the very end and they earned it.
That's true. Like it is, if it's something that you intentionally do, artistically, and you can see that throughout the film, on board. I am not really a fan of it just for the sake of, whatever. In this movie, there's not really a reason. And so I started off shaky, but agreed. Once you really get into like the meat and potatoes, this movie's really good. I was really impressed. Like, even though Leslie Odom Jr. and Aldous Hodge are the guys I recognized in this film, and I don't think they're bad. I thought the other two dudes were like way better. The guy who plays Malcolm X, I thought was actually really good. But and for a film that's like just four dudes in a room having a conversation, it was like entertaining. Like it was like, I don't know. I can't really explain what I mean by that, but it never was like dull or boring.
Yeah.
Like it was just, a fun, like a weird kind of fun watch the whole time. That I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't think it's a Best Picture winner, but I think it's a fun movie.
I mean, it might be this year, depending on how much shit actually comes out this year.
Right.
It's funny. I wanted to go like actor by actor to see how we felt about each guy individually, because I think there is one that didn't quite rise to the occasion, and if Christian doesn't seem to think so, I'm curious if Hurt does.
Well, I mean, I think before I even get into specifics of each of them, I think a problem I had going into this with some of them is I've watched multiple movies about some of these characters. So it was almost like at times I was questioning myself when I was like, oh, this guy's doing a good job of playing Muhammad Ali. It's like, well, does he really remind me of Muhammad Ali, the person, or does he just remind me of other movies I've seen with Muhammad Ali? And I don't know the answer to that to be true. And I'd say even more so with Malcolm X, because it just seems like, oh yeah, he's doing a real good job in this scene. And it's like, or does he just remind me of Denzel? Like, which thing is actually happening here?
I didn't feel it as much for Malcolm X. For me, it was Muhammad Ali. I definitely felt the whole time I was like comparing it to Will Smith. And that wasn't really fair to that guy, because I think he nails the mannerisms and the accent like really, really well.
I'm not sure about that accent, but
I think he does. Like, what I mean is like he's got the flow like really well, like the rhythmic speaking that Muhammad Ali had. I thought he does a good job of, but I don't know if he really carries a lot of emotional weight. For me, the one that I was, it's hard to say least impressed with, but was Aldous Hodge, just because I don't feel like Jim Brown is the least.
Let's talk about
is he
that.
In that? Why is he in that story?
Right. How did Jim Brown? Okay, so of these four men, 3 of them are dead, and the only living one that's still alive today and is a vocal Trump supporter somehow comes out smelling like roses in this fucking movie. He's the Brian May of this documentary.
Hold on. Are you mixing up Herschel Walker and Jim Brown?
Jim Brown's still alive.
No, but I think Herschel Walker is the.
No, Jim Brown is also a Trump supporter.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that.
I'm just going to pretend like you're wrong about that, no matter what you say, because I can't handle that about Jim Brown. I've always thought Jim Brown was a cool motherfucker, and there's no cool motherfucker supporting Trump.
Anyway, I'm curious, like, how I understand that, like, I think there are specific, like, angles that they were trying to play as far as, like, you know, societal conversations about, like, you know, economic impact and social impact and religious impact and all these kind of stuff. And of those things, I think Jim Brown had the least angles to approach the conversation with, I guess. But at the same time, like, yeah, I don't know. He definitely doesn't have an arc, and definitely of all the people, it just kind of comes off as like, oh, I'm just the generally agreeable guy that's like not too into anything, but you know, I get along with everybody.
Well, of the four guys, I'll say he looks the best in a suit.
He does.
You know, that's a nice suit, and he fills it out well. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if he really, I don't know if he really captured Jim Brown that well or not, because I'm not that familiar with Jim Brown during that era. I'm more, you know, like familiar with second wave of Jim Brown. So,
well, that's kind of my problem with it. It seems like the other three all had an important, and not that Jim Brown's voice at that time wasn't important. I understand. Top 5 football player all time, the biggest star in NFL at that time was a black guy. I get it. But the other three, and they touch on this on the movie, on how important each of them are, but they don't ever really do that for that character.
Right.
And so he's just kind of sitting there sulking to the sidelines the whole time. And this is why, I mean, like, I'm not saying Aldous Hodge is bad in that, but at no point do I see Jim Brown in that character. I see Aldous Hodge. And maybe that's not a diss on him as much as it is like the writing or just the decision of having him be that character.
Right.
You know what? It really what they should have done, since all the conflict in this was probably made up anyway, they should have given him more conflict with Ali, because essentially they were flip sides of the same coin. You know, one of them was going deeper into sort of activism and stuff, and one of them seemed like he was stepping away from it more. So there could have been more conflict between, because they were essentially the same thing. They were sports stars who, you know, were black during an era where it was, you know, not always the safest thing to be a famous black person.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to the thing that I struggle with especially when Hurt's talking about, like, you know, this would make a good movie to watch for people who don't know anything about these icons, I guess, to like get familiar with them, is when you do these kind of, you know, like two popes style, they might have been in the same place at the same time, but we don't actually know anything that they said. But you're putting these words in their mouth. It's this weird thing where, like, now for, like you say, people who may not have otherwise been familiar with who these people were and like what they did, what they stood for, all this kind of stuff. These are definitive versions of these people, these real life people that existed, despite the fact that literally none of the things that they said in this movie, besides maybe the stuff in like the press release at the end there, are things that they actually said. So it's just, you know, I don't know, like it inhabits a weird, I feel weird about these movies putting words in the mouths of real people that, you know, have real legacies, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I think that's a valid criticism, but I also see the importance of, you know, figuring out a way to connect these people to modern or to newer generations in a way that maybe, you know, isn't a textbook, that helps to really kind of like, you know, dig in and help them understand who these people were. But it definitely is, I don't know, it is hard to speak for someone who can't speak for themselves. Like you said, the only person here who could even make a comment on it is Jim Brown, and God knows what that guy is going to say. So it is tough when a person can't really. I think I would feel better about it if either one more of these guys, or if they were all still alive and they could comment on it.
I mean, definitely, because I'm not even citing the guy's performance, but the Ali in this seemed really informed by the Ali from the Michael Mann movie. Like, these seemed like the boxing scenes in this almost seemed like, oh, these are deleted scenes from the Michael Mann movie. So yeah, it does. I can see what you guys are saying, that it's very obvious that this is like a showbiz version of this thing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think really like it's an interesting concept in the sense that, again, we're talking about four black men of influence arguing about what the kind of the burden that they have as black men of influence in a culture where, you know, black men of not influence, black people of not influence are, you know, largely being oppressed or downtrodden or all these kind of things. So like the idea of having these characters discuss like what the right thing to do with that power, and you know how much they're responsible for versus how much, you know, they're just responsible for living their own lives and being happy kind of thing, is like an interesting thing. It just becomes complicated when you put it with real actual people.
Yeah. I do like that this movie revolves around a concept. It's not something I want from all of my films. It's not something that I want from predominantly my films, but I do enjoy every year those like couple of indie concept films that come around. You know, in this case, like, you know, Joseph, you said like Two Popes, or in this one, you know, here are these four superstars of American 20th century. We're going to put them in a room and let's just see what would happen if the four of these guys were in a room.
Right.
Like, what would they talk about? And I appreciate that. I don't always need rising and falling action from a film. And what I think this one does really well is it takes that concept and it presents it in an interesting package from beginning to end. Like I said, I didn't really get bored with it, but I could understand how it could go wrong so easily.
Right. No, again, like if the writing was the same consistency level as the first 20 minutes for the rest of the movie, I would not have made it through the whole movie. But definitely what I think was probably, you know, more of the original manuscript of the play is a really strong, like, you know, dialogue. And I mean, realistically, we know this, that really that's what all these stories come down to. It's just a bunch of conversations. It's just making them, you know, compelling.
Well, one thing I think it suffered from being a play is these dudes said each other's names way too fucking much.
Yeah.
It was like watching an episode of the fucking Walking Dead. Like, you know, it had no faith in the idea that after, particularly since it had long intro scenes for each of them, that you would know which guy was which, you know. And I can understand why that's like that in a play, but that's something they should have edited out on for the movie.
Also, I don't know how Beau Bridges feels about being the kindly face of racism, but, you know, he pulls it off really well.
Well, you know, here's my thing about that scene. I think Regina King mostly did a great job in this, but the one note I would give the director is we needed a little music or something to let us know that was coming. Because I know it was supposed to be, you know, just shocking horror, but what instead it kind of feels like is the punchline on a joke. Like it seems like a wacky story somebody's telling.
My favorite thing is that, you know, it's this lady's grandpa who's just hanging around the house, seemed to just be doing nothing before, you know, famous NFL superstar Jim Brown shows up. He sits down to have a conversation with his old friend Jim Brown. But then the granddaughter's like, Grandpa, I know you're talking to a famous NFL superstar and your friend Jim Brown, but you really need to move this furniture like right fucking now.
It cannot wait another second.
It literally can't.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking dumb.
This is totally kind of off topic, that more serious note you guys are talking about. Am I the only one that thought that the dude who opened up for Sam Cooke in that one part looked like Black Pete Davidson?
I didn't notice that at all.
But I'm picturing it in my mind, and that's pretty spot on.
As soon as I saw him, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Black Pete Davidson!" Like it really stuck out to me through the whole rest of the film. Could not get over that thought.
Since we're doing racist black versions of white actors, I couldn't help. I think it was mostly the glasses, but the actor who does play Malcolm X reminded me a lot of a black Ben Whishaw.
Oh no, I could see that too. The glasses definitely helped, though.
Yeah.
And lack of upper lip.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know how much more we have to say on this movie, but I did really enjoy it. And I don't watch most things that release on Prime. I know we had chatted about this, but props to Regina King, because this is like a pretty solid, like, first directorial effort with kind of like a heavy subject. So, you know, good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would be interested to see a second one, just because I feel like the original screenplay may have done a lot of the original stage play may have done a lot of the heavy lifting. Because the thing that made me nervous were the bits that were the off-script bits. So I'm interested to see what she does next. But as far as like, coaxing good performances and shooting the actual, the night in the hotel room. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. I was compelled from minute 30 on to the end.
Didn't Sam Cooke die in a weird hotel incident?
He did. Yeah. No, everybody died in unfortunate circumstances. But
I will give her a thumbs up just for not trying to have some moment of irony of where he's like, man, I just hope someday I don't die outside of a hotel like this in my underwear. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, movies love to do shit like that, so I'm glad they didn't.
They did. They played that relatively low on this one.
Yeah, it was almost kind of noticeable, like not just the future thing, but like the whole time I kind of anticipated that there would be a line about like Vietnam or something.
Yeah.
It never came, and so I hadn't really picked up on the future death stuff, but I had kind of noticed that some of these topics that these guys are famous for, we are intentionally staying away from.
But I mean, unless you guys have anything else, I'm good to close the book on this one. It's on Amazon Prime. It's good. It's especially when you probably haven't seen something that's come out after 2019 in a while. I recommend it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, better than Transformers.
Better than Transformers. Also, now I'm excited to see Kingsley Ben-Adir, the guy who played Malcolm X, and more stuff because he was really good.
Yeah, definitely the highlight of the movie is the Sam Cooke fight.
Yeah,
they're both.
I should also mention that I've turned all the way around on Leslie Odom Jr. I know I was hard on him the first time we reviewed Hamilton, but he's now my favorite part of Hamilton, probably. He's really good in this, I thought.
One thing I did want to say that I appreciate that he's singing those songs, that they re-recorded those Sam Cooke songs with him. I had a conversation with someone. We were talking about like crooners and like if there would be a next generation. And I said my vote is Leslie Odom Jr. and I feel vindicated after watching this movie.
But yeah, I that scene, the argument between Sam Cooke and Malcolm X was definitely the point where it was like, because up to that I was like, is this good or not? But that was really the point where the movie came together.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're done.
Better than Transformers.
I would go with better than Transformers. Yes.
All right.
Agreed.
Also shorter than Transformers. Remember that?
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Pretty tight 2 hours. Again, the stage play is 90 minutes. Movie could have been 90 minutes also, but here we are. All right, cool. What have you been watching this past week, guys?
I really didn't watch much. Well, I didn't watch much that I want to talk about on here. So I was kind of thinking back, what would I discuss? So I'm going to talk about something that's almost purely and solely for my wife. She and I watched.
Who listens to this podcast?
She does not, but maybe this will convince her. She loves reality TV. I hate it. She loves competition shows. I hate them. But she has gotten me to watch a couple of these ones that are extremely specific skill sets. So it's not like baking or singing or, ones that a lot of people try and suck at. So we've watched glass blowing competitions, and the one we watched last week, which is on HBO Max, hashtag to our sponsor HBO Max, Full Bloom, which is about florist. And you know what? Really good. I really liked it. I have not big into flowers or floral design. She would tell you I'm a terrible husband at buying flowers. I never do it. It never crosses my mind. But I did enjoy this show because it did something that most competition shows fail to do for me. Normally in a competition show, I hate every single contestant. I wish them all gruesome deaths. Right. However, in this one, I really liked all of the contestants. They all seemed like genuinely nice and happy people, and we're all very excited to be there. And so I got pretty into it. And we have a local girl who's trying out for season 2. I hope she makes it at Chrissy Florals on Instagram. If you guys are, interested in following her. Kate and I know her through wedding things, but no, Full Bloom, give it a shot. I liked it. I thought it was better than Transformers.
Cool. I like, the only reality show that I watch is the Great British Baking Show. And the reason I like it is because I like all the people and they're all genuinely nice to each other.
Yeah, that's the only one I've watched in a while, and that's the same reason. There's no puck. There's nobody that's not there to make friends. Everybody there seems pretty interested in making friends.
See, we also watched one that was like this called Blown Away on Netflix. It's about glass blowing. And while I really like watching glass blowing and I like the things they make, it is by far the worst when it comes to likable people. All of those assholes are the most vain son of a bitches I have ever heard.
Jay.
But that's it.
All right. Hurt?
Well, also, glass blowers really just only ever make stuff for you to put your weed in. That's
also true. Yep.
There. Let's see. Okay, what did I watch this week? I've started watching Westworld again. I watched the first season and I really liked it. I still don't remember why I didn't watch the second season. Maybe I was just going through a phase without HBO, but that doesn't seem right because, Game of Thrones was still happening. I don't know why I didn't watch it. But anyways, I started watching it again. I rewatched the first season. Shit holds up.
Yep.
Watching it again, it's funny because the twist that I guessed, I don't know how I guessed it. And the twist that I didn't guess, I don't know how I didn't guess it. It just had block letters the whole time. That dude's a robot. But so I'm getting into the second season now, which I think people usually view as a letdown. And I'm like 5 episodes in it and I fucking love it. I think, it's more in line with the movie is that it gets really horror-y in the second one. It's real gory. There's just a whole lot of death, but I like the mystery that's going on in it too. Christian, I know Joseph has it. Have you watched Westworld?
I watched the first season like you. I never watched the second season.
Why do you think that I haven't watched Westworld?
No, I said I know you have.
Oh, go carry on.
Yeah. I think you might like the second season. There's a few times where it makes like very clear and obvious references to Lost. There's a guy in a secret room who wakes up every day and rides his exercise bike and listens to vinyl records. Like it's,
cool.
It's definitely, I'm not saying it's as good as Lost in its prime, but it's like, oh, I see you're trying to make me think of Lost. And I like that. Also, I really like the part where it goes to Samurai World. Samurai World is the fucking shit. Make another show just about Samurai World. So yeah, I'm giving it, again, I'm only halfway through season 2. But so far I'm giving that show better than Transformers. Hopefully I'll be finished the next time I talk to you guys. Also, once I stopped leaving my house for work, the audio podcast was fucking dead to me, which is probably not a thing I should say on our audio podcast, but I just don't have a reason to listen to them anymore.
Agreed.
They're a thing to do in my car. But video podcasts, which I used to, just abhor, now I found one I like. It's called Cartoonist Kayfabe. It's 2 guys of roughly the same age as me who are comic book artists, but also sort of dissect other comic books artists and their work. And it's real good. The 2 guys are funny. Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg, they've done some things where they really like want to sort of rescue the legacy of that early Image Comics. They make strong arguments for guys like Rob Liefeld and Eric Larson and stuff like that. And even if you don't agree with it, they're pretty compelling. If I was going to recommend an episode, they just did an episode on RoboCop versus Terminator, which is a highly underrated comic. Give that one a whirl.
All right. That sounds specifically made for you.
I mean, it does. It does seem very good for me, but I would actually like for someone who's not me to watch it to tell me if it is entertaining or if it's just catnip for me.
Right. Fair enough.
What anime did you watch this week, Joseph?
Well, I watched Attack on Titan.
Oh, yeah.
Which is popping off like a motherfucker. It's so good.
We're like on week 3 of this very violent fight.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we're in the fight. Like it's called Attack on Titan, the final season. But literally every fucking minute of it is just payoff. And I'm loving it. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm excited to finish the ride, to redo the ride. It's a great time all the way around. I started watching a new anime with the wife called Kaguya-sama Love is War. It's a romance comedy anime, but kind of taken to the nth degree. The premise is at some fancy falutin high school, the student council president and vice president, a boy and a girl respectively, get wind of a rumor that they're dating, and then kind of imagine to themselves that, oh, the other one must be in love with me. I guess I'd probably let them go out with me if they asked, which turned into them kind of obsessing over the concept that the other one's going to ask them out, and then devising more elaborate and ridiculous circumstances to make the other person ask them out, but also like refusing to actually acknowledge that they like the other person. It's very comical. It's very funny. It's all very like, I don't know, relatable circumstances. Like one of the first episodes, the central conflict is one of the guys gets a cell phone for the first time, and he really wants to get the girl's number, but he doesn't want to ask for it. And he doesn't know how to get it without specifically being like, hey, can you give me your phone number? And it's just very elaborate and ridiculous, and I highly recommend it. It's very funny. And then the only other thing I really wanted to talk about is they released on, I think, all the platforms, it's a remaster, just a redistribution of the Scott Pilgrim vs. the World video game, which is like a side-scroller beat 'em up in the style of like Ninja Turtles back in the day.
Right.
And it's fucking rocks. I played this game, when it came out many years ago with my buddy Zach. And we finished it, and it was a great time. It's got a great like chiptune soundtrack. And so now I'm replaying it again with the wife, and it's a fucking blast. I highly recommend anybody. It's like $15. It's totally worth it.
Dope.
Yep.
Right on.
Cool. Well, shit. I don't know if we've ever actually finished an episode in 40 fucking minutes.
Well, I mean, are we just going to wait and do WandaVision after it's over? Or are we going to do...
Oh, I totally forgot about WandaVision. Let's talk about WandaVision.
So yeah, WandaVision. This one takes place in the 70s. Wanda's pregnant, and then some crazy shit happens at the end of this episode. I do feel confident in my prediction. More and more crazy shit's gonna happen every episode, because the whole like last 5 to 10 minutes of this episode is bonkers.
The thing to me is, this should have been the episode when they released a couple together. This should have been the one they stopped at and then left you for the next episode.
Agreed. All of the first 3 should have been at the same time.
Because I can tell you that both my wife and my in-laws both watched the first episode and decided not to watch anymore.
Right.
And this one, I think, would have probably got them onto more.
Yeah.
This one is definitely the hook. Totally.
Yeah.
And you probably shouldn't wait 3 episodes to have your...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this episode. I did the one thing I wanted to come away from and ask you guys, is Wanda the villain of the show?
I feel like Wanda's probably the villain of the show.
Yeah. I think the more concerning bit, in my mind, I imagine that a lot of the people there are like fictional, like, imaginary plant kind of people. But it's way darker if they're actual people who are forced there into this like 1950s world against their will.
I think that's what it is. I think they're prisoners.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely the implication.
Okay, so hear me out. I agree. I think my primary theory is they're prisoners. But what if he said we're mutants?
Okay.
That was my other theory.
I mean, definitely it does feel like this is building towards, I mean, they're leaning on so much shit that happens with Wanda in comics that I feel like her having a say in whether or not mutants do or do not exist probably is something that's going to happen. I don't know if I agree with that storytelling choice. I've said before, I just think mutants should have existed and we just haven't talked about them yet. But I'm thinking something like we are coming to something like that.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yep. All right. We got to get out of here. Next week, something, maybe WandaVision, maybe some other movie that's coming out. I don't even know. Whenever Godzilla comes out, we'll definitely do Godzilla. Thanks to everybody for listening. If you have any suggestions, if you had any thoughts on One Night in Miami or other movies that came out that you want us to watch, you can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com and let us know. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Real Phonies and on Instagram at Real_Phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys later.